How are you? Okay, so welcome to SOD. I'm actually going Shanda on demand now. It's Shanda and Ash on demand today.
That's right.
And
SAOSD.
what is it?
I don't know. Shanda on demand as SAOD, I guess.
Okay.
Saad.
See, that's a husband-wife moment. He thinks something's funny. I don't think it's that funny. That's a husband-wife moment
I
sometimes.
think a lot of things are funny.
Okay, except for Esteban thinks everything his wife is just funny and she walks on clouds and air. It's so good. Do I walk on cloud and air?
You walk on clouds, air, all forms of gases.
All right, so we do have a serious live for you today, and our live is around our elimination process. And how many of you guys, you really want to know, am I setting the right goals that are actually going to monetize, the right goals that are actually the most important goals, and you want to see yourself follow through and hit them? So go in the chat right now and just put me if that's something that's important to you. And if it's something that you struggle with a little bit, can you put a question mark in the chat? If it's something that you struggle with a little bit, can you put a question mark in the chat? And I am going to start this as well, because I think this will be helpful. It took me, there we are. It took me, it took me probably about, 5 years to really get good at eliminating, prioritizing, and also prioritizing with Ash, right? So you do not have to be in a relationship for this to work for you at all. But we are going to share it from a male perspective and a female perspective, because if you're anybody out there either working with a business partner, or you're working with a virtual assistant or a business manager, or you're married, or you're in a committed relationship, it's really important to all get on the same page. And if you've ever heard yourself say, well, my goal is to build a business, or my goal is to fall in love, or my goal is to lose, 15 pounds, it sounds great, but the part that we're missing often is by when and how's that going to happen, or who's going to help me. And so we're going to share our elimination process of what we do to be able to make sure that we're on the same page. And by the way, I do the same thing with Denise, our COO. I do some parts of this where I do the processing with my husband, and then I take it and I develop a system that I actually give to our COO. Okay, and so this is something that I don't teach, and I need to be teaching it. It's like one of those things that you kind of go, oh, it's so simple, but it works. Does that make sense, you guys? Put yes in the chat if you are listening, not multitasking, and I'm going to ask you to grab a piece of paper. So grab a piece of paper, because listening to me is not going to have the same aha effect as you actually doing this at this point in time. Okay, so if you're driving, you might want to pull over, because the chances of you coming back and listening to this is probably slim, unless you're one of the 1% that actually goes back and watches things later, because most people don't.
Or the system where you can eliminate and prioritize.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So number one is that I do want to give a bit of a backstory, because Ash and I planned separately for many, many years, and we tried to come together once a year or twice a year to bring our worlds together. And it was really tough. So if you're, again, working with a virtual assistant, working with a business manager, working with a partner, or you have a spouse, or maybe you're by yourself and you want to get clear and hit,
or you have teammates that are not hitting the benchmark.
Yeah. So if you want to eliminate some of the craziness in your head so you get clear, I think this will help a lot. So super simple, but I want to tell you, before we didn't do this, we'd have our own goal systems. And, having your own goal systems doesn't exactly mean you're on the same page, right? Got it? Okay. So first thing that we do, you want to show the first thing that we do?
Yeah, the first thing we do is I call it a brain dump. You call it something different, but I do a brain dump of everything that has to happen during this week. So what are the all the doing that has to happen?
Yeah, like your to-do list. So things like what?
Let's see, for this week I had onboarding a new social media person, bringing the team together for a meeting, revamp, letter going out to shareholders, meeting with attorneys, so I.
So those are
some
like
of the
things,
to-dos.
those are like things on the top of your head.
And I
Does
have
that make
Shanda
sense?
dues,
And then he has the honey to-dos.
that's right.
So the things that are on top of your head. So I wanted him to share that with you because like even as his as his partner listening to that, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's operations, that's operations, that's operations. What role are you playing? Okay, and it's really powerful to do this with somebody else because it really does help for somebody else to realize like, is this your role? Or like, is it something that you're good at? Or is it a role that really you should be outsourcing? Okay, so I want you to ask yourself right now, what is the role you play in your company? What is the role that you play in your personal life? Right? I play a role as as a mom, I play a role as a wife, I play a role as a friend, which is really important to me. And there's certain standards that I have with that. And I play a role as a CEO. And as a CEO, I should not be project managing people. Does that make sense to you guys? And if I am, it means that I'm slowing down the company. Does that make sense? So when I'm listening to Ash, which he's actually already handled this, but when I'm listening to you, I'm sitting there going, you really like, that's operations. And so like somebody else needs to be handling those pieces and he needs to be coming with the criteria. Does that make sense? And that would give him more bandwidth and that would give him more ability to focus on money making activities as a CEO. So what is your role? Write that down real quick. Are you a CEO? Are you a founder? What is your role? Okay, you guys write it down. We're not going to work on this right now, but just ask yourself, do you know the criteria of that role? This is huge.
What makes you successful in that role?
Yeah, so it's
So
like,
if you're
well,
the CEO, what makes you
yeah, but
successful?
what are the duties of a CEO?
Yeah. Roles and
Right? Like
responsibilities.
what are the rules and responsibilities? A great thing that Ash had me do, one of the things you had me do last week or the week before, and I actually wrote notes about it because I was spinning on something. Have you guys ever spun? Put an S in the chat, right? I was spinning on something and I was like hitting my head up against the wall on something. And he said to me, he said, write down, the part that we do, write down all your to-dos, right? And I wrote down all my to-dos, and that's what we do at step 1 of our Sunday. We sit down and we do that. We write all of our to-dos, all the things that you want to do, right? So just write that down. Like you just do a brain dump on all the to-dos. Don't edit it, just all the to-dos. But then he said to me, he goes, so take all your projects and initiatives, Shanda, and write them all down and go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to take this list and write it in a way that my operations manager can measure it. That was awesome for me. You know why? Because the way I speak something as a CEO is very much in a vision. It's very much on like inspiration, storytelling, all of that. And that's my role. But then when I hand it over, I have to do, I don't know if you guys know Dan Sullivan, but Dan Sullivan's amazing. And he has something called impact filters.
Yeah.
And I just used an impact filter literally. The last 2 days, I've just rewritten an impact filter, which is basically what is the project you want done? What does it look like successful? And that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines to write. What would this look like if it was running successfully? Now I don't even need this thing because I can just go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to take my to-do list and flip it into
An impact filter.
it won't know what an impact filter is, but flip it into like an SOP or a operations manual. Do you guys see what I'm saying?
Project
Yes?
management.
Yeah. So who's going to try that? Write your list of to-dos and then ask yourself when you write that list of to-dos, what are your priority ones? Put a P1 next to your priority ones. That means that it needs to be done like now. It's urgent. Like a priority 1 is urgent. A priority 2 is I can get to it next week or even maybe the week after. Like it's important, but I can get to it like next week or the week after. That's a priority 2. So I go through the to-do list and we both put P1s, P2s, and then P3s, which is I really want to work on this, but I don't have bandwidth for this yet, or I don't have a who. I don't have a who. Okay, every area of my life that falls apart operationally, it's because there's not a who owning something. Does that make sense? Yes? Got it? Okay, so once we do that priority list, P1, P2, P3, that's where Ash had me take that list and go, well, what are your P1s? What do those initiatives look like? And how do you communicate it to people to be able to execute on it? Now, you might be the executor. So you might say, how would I execute on this when I only have 5 hours a week? Or how would I execute on this if, I only have the weekend to work on it? Or how would you guys get what I'm saying? Like, use AI, because you will be out of business if you don't start to get used to using it. You know why? Because people are getting faster, they're getting stronger, and they're getting better because they're leaning on advice from AI. Okay, you got it? Yes?
This is really a leadership tool. It's supposed to, it
Exactly.
leads you to move it forward versus be the one that's moving everything forward.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I found is, like, when I was prioritizing one, I would ask myself, okay, who can I have handle this versus I need to move it, I need to handle it. Because if you could find 3 or 10 items or 50 items in some cases of someone else being able to lead it and move it forward, then what it does is reduces your to-do list, but your progression in the business amplifies forward.
Okay, so now I can hear somebody saying, because I don't want it to get complicated, because when I was a solo entrepreneur, it was just me. That advice feels scary. But here's what I can say. If you write your to-do list down, everything comes down to your vision, right? If you write your to-do list down, you do P1, P2, P3. Then if you take that and think about what is my problem between me and getting this done, and you ask AI, artificial intelligence, to solve the problem, it's like Ash said, it's a leadership scenario. So if I knew that I had a time, so just so you know, every ounce of speed comes from a who, not a how. How do I do that? That's the slow boat to China. So, but what if I was financially tight? I would ask, who can I help get this done? And how do I monetize that? How do I think about it? How do I monetize it? How do I track it to monetize in the next 30 or 60 or 40 days? How do I pay for it? The reason why I share this with you is because we're so used to, in society, having our challenge in our brain and sitting with it for weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And sitting with it for absolute weeks. And so what were you gonna say?
Yeah, so I want to backtrack for a second.
Yeah.
Because remember the first week we sat down and did it together?
Mhm.
First of all, there's a little bit of resistance. Like, you don't want to do it. Like, I didn't want to do it.
I've been wanting to do it
She's the
since
one
our
who did it.
first date.
I know. For me, I like to keep everything to myself, kind of. I don't know why that is. Maybe because I don't want to. I know why it is, because I don't want to fail in front of my wife. I think that's really what it is. It's because I rather just fail on my own and then work through it by myself.
Yeah.
The devil loves isolation, apparently.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this is that the first time we did this and we put it all together, I'm like, wow, I feel like I have so much time.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like, you think, we tell ourselves we don't have a lot of, so if you're one of the people that tells yourself you don't have a lot of time, when you do this, you're going to find you have a lot of time.
Yeah, because it gets you clear.
Yeah.
It gets you clear. So Ash sat down, we did this. And the first week we did it, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. He had the best week ever.
I did. I had the best week ever.
And then, of course, now he's like showing up to Sunday table, which we have a designated time, right? So he shows up the next Sunday ready to go.
I got my last week's to-do list.
Yeah.
I look at that and I cross everything off.
So he brings last week to the next Sunday.
So I can move it over. Yeah. Exactly.
And he rates himself to see, did he hit it? So Ash is rolling into week Sunday number 2 going, yes, I'm ready to go. And then we do it again, and then we both have a good week. And then by the 3rd week, I had a horrible week. And he's like on fire. So now he can contribute to me because he's energetically on fire. And I was not energetically on fire. And, I think that's where partnership starts to get really interesting, where it can play on each other. Because, so for you guys, I just want to say to you, if you have someone who doesn't like to set goals with you, or even when I was a solo entrepreneur and I didn't have anybody to work with, and I was single, I had my virtual assistant that I made do this with me on Thursdays. And it changed everything for me, because you can see there's only so many times that you want to roll into a weekly accountability meeting with a virtual assistant or even a fellow entrepreneur. I mean, you have to have pretty low standards on yourself if you're, and honestly, you should check in and just say, if I'm going to fly into a meeting with you every single week, like Rosanna or Bridget, and I don't want to say to you like, well, I didn't do it again.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that because all that's going to do is make me feel horrible. But honestly, I care about how I come across. Does that make sense? Like, because it's my brand, like I am my walking brand. And so picking someone to do this with, whether it's a fellow entrepreneur, whether it's a spouse, I like it with a spouse a lot. And the reason why I like it
Yeah.
with a spouse is because I have a personal vision to be stronger with my husband. And so I will be a version of myself that's more vulnerable with him than I would be necessarily with an entrepreneur. However, there's huge benefits to doing it with an entrepreneur. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a lot of benefits to doing it with somebody else because what it does is it also has you go a little deeper than you would on your own. Because like, there was a time like I was just like, okay, I got it down. And the first time I was in tremendous resistance, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
like, gosh, I already know this stuff. It's in my calendar, or I have people that are, reaching out to me. But the truth of it was I wasn't that organized with all of my initiatives. And it took me even a step further. So when we went through the to-dos, I'm like, what are all the company initiatives I have at the table? What are all the needs of the initiatives? So it wasn't just what I need to handle. There's company initiatives, which is just where I gave you the idea of like, do the prompt with ChatGPT, because I put all the initiatives together. I said, okay, ChatGPT, because someone asked for the prompt. I said, okay, ChatGPT, you're a skilled professional operations manager. Take all of these initiatives in the company and break it down for me in a digestible way so that the operations person can be held responsible and accountable for this.
Yeah.
And then it just spit it out all these different pieces to me. And then I took it a little deeper. I said, okay, now break this down by initiative so I could give it a
Weekly. You
Yeah.
said, so take these initiatives and break them down into weekly initiatives, so that they can be managed
You nailed it.
effectively.
Exactly. So
Right?
so you
And
can be
so,
managed.
so you're, because you guys, the number one is, I would say being a coach at this point in my life over the last, 15, 16 years. And before that, I ran, pretty hard in the real estate world. And before that, I was in running nightclubs where I'd have a whole bunch of cocktail waitresses, bartenders, doormen. And no matter which way you put it, you have to be the type of leader that doesn't sit back and go, well, I was depending on that person to do this for me and they let me down, or they didn't come through, or I'm still waiting for them. And a lot of times what I find is even smart people and great people are waiting for people. I'm gonna repeat that. Smart people and great people are still waiting for people. If you're waiting for people, you're not leading. If you're waiting for people, you're not leading.
You're being led, yeah.
Yeah, you're being led, and you're probably being led too slow. Do you see what I'm saying? So like, Esteban, if you and I have a meeting on something and I'm expecting you to do something, or we're doing a project together, or like Jonathan Odo, who I'm doing an event with here at my house this Friday, I don't, like, if I'm running it, I'm not guessing when we're gonna meet again. You get what I'm saying? Like, when did we do the undefeated challenge? I don't know, a few months ago or something like that, maybe 3 months ago. And I preset 2 months later, 2 different check-in meetings to make sure that we were checking in, and they had agendas written on it. So we knew what the topic of those calls were because we'd forget 2 months later. So we knew we had placeholders, which gives you bandwidth to talk about, like, what are the emails going out? What are the text messages going out? Because there's 147 people that had the opportunity to come here and meet Jonathan and meet my friend Chris Nagel around infinite banking, and then meet the doctors and all the things that these guys are doing at my house. And literally, I remember doing this with Jesse Itzler, and like a small group of people came and so many people didn't come, and I don't have the option to open that opportunity back up. Do you know that there are 42 people coming out of 147? And I'll be shocked if 42 people walk in the door.
Yeah.
Because people just underestimate the value of being in a room. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you do a lot with being in a room with someone, but you be in a room with somebody a couple times and you grow in your leadership and you start You start directing your life about how do we do a joint venture partnership together? How do we do that? Like all the insecurity stuff starts to go away. So I share this with you because I know, we are down to our last 3 lives of the year, right? I'm about to do my last Mentor Me Live 1% stream, like right after this call with them. And then I meet them in Palm Springs, right? And then the year ends to 2024. So I got 4 live Zooms or Facebook Lives between now and the end of the year. And then 2024 is case closed. Yeah. And so I share this with you because, like, if you feel like there's things on your to-do list that really did not move, like I have my 1-page strategic plan over there. If you watch these lives, I've taught my 1-page strategic plan the end of last year. I taught it this year, and I live by it. And there are pieces on that 1-page strategic plan that didn't happen. And I can tell you exactly why they didn't happen. Because we didn't hire the who. Yeah. If you and I have to learn how to do each thing, it's gonna take longer. I'm looking at Esteban here, and I said to his wife the other day on Instagram, I said, I'm not gonna say the number but I said, I know what he should be doing a month. And I said, what he's missing is an online business manager. And the online business manager is responsible for bringing him leads. That's what he's missing. Do you get what I'm saying? And if he had that who, he would see his rise just go instead of him having to have that on his to-do list. So when you're doing your to-do list dump, ask yourself, should you really be doing that thing? Right? Like, should I really be generating all of my own sales? Should I really be generating, should I really be setting up my opt-in pages? Should I really be looking on Upwork or Hire My Mom or HireMyPeople.com? Should I really be looking for my people, or should I hire somebody that can look for people better than me as a project and I pay them $100 or $200?
Yeah, but it makes me feel so good to do it because I feel like that's my value.
I love it.
Go ahead.
No, I know, but
it makes me feel like, what am I gonna do if I'm not doing those things?
Yeah. Well, so when he does do those things, I'm over his shoulder going, why are you doing that?
Because it makes me feel valuable, right? You guys can relate to this, right?
Yeah.
All the things you have on your to-do list makes you feel like
he's joking with you, but he's telling you the truth. The reason why you're not thinking. So remember, like, hiring somebody doesn't mean you have to hire somebody that's going to be an employee for you forever or even a contractor forever. You can hire somebody for a project to do something. And if you've taught so many people of our clients how to build sales teams. If you're meant to be live at 1% right now, every week he goes live for 5 days. If you should be the person selling, how many hot seats have you gotten from him about how do you recruit, Ash? How do you get dependable salespeople? How do you get salespeople that are going to produce $50,000 a month or $80,000 a month or $100,000 a month? Do you know the metric? Right? Do you know the metric? How many people, like, you get what I'm saying? So if you're doing live content online, somebody selling for you should be closing at 20 to 30% on a high ticket offer. Right? If they're doing more pay-in-fulls, they should be closing at between 15 and 18%. If it's something completely cold, you come to me and say, Shanda, I want you for a VIP day, and I want you to help me write a video sales letter. Like, that's what I want from you. Right? I want your positioning, I want your brain, I want all of that on top of it. And that's what you used a half VIP day for, something like that. And then you went and you did it. You get what I'm saying? And be like, okay, guess what? If you do that, every lead that comes through that should convert at 15% because you're not doing a challenge, a webinar, an event. So if you know that it's a 15% close ratio and you go to hire somebody to sell for you and they bomb and they disappoint you, the question is, are you the who to keep leading them? Or does it make more sense for you to say, I need to hire an online business manager that I'm going to bite the bullet for 30 days with this person to generate leads, and I'm going to sell. And then I'm going to take myself out of the selling, and in 30 days or 60 days, I'm going to hire somebody, or I'm going to hire somebody because I suck at hiring somebody. You guys follow me? I'm going to hire somebody for 2 weeks to recruit for me and interview for me and find me the perfect salesperson. My online business manager is going to keep delivering the leads through that video sales letter that I did with Shanda on a half VIP day or something. Do you guys get what I'm saying? And that salesperson I know is going to close at 15%. So do I need to sell at $5,000 to make my money, $10,000 to make my money, $15,000 to make my money? And if you can't think like this, freaking ask me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Ask me your challenge. Tell me, here's what I want to make. What would be the who would be the person that I would hire? I'm not saying hire somebody randomly. We have a format that I just did for a marketing manager. If you know a good marketing manager, send them to me. A marketing director, marketing manager, send them to me. Okay? But my point is that I said to Ash, I said, if somebody doesn't hit the weekly, I didn't say this to Ash, I said this to Denise. If they hit the weekly KPI, awesome. If they don't, they've got 7 days to course correct it. They should come up with the idea.
Yeah.
Not me. Do you know what I mean? Like that person should come up with the idea, not me, to solve the problem. If they can't do it in 2 weeks, then they shouldn't
They're not
be
the right
in the
person.
seat.
Yeah, they're not the right person.
Unless I want to run marketing for the rest of my life. Does that make sense? Like, now that's the same thing with sales. We have a metric in sales. We want you to do $100,000 a month if you're working for us for sales. Okay, we want $100,000 a month. And if it's events, we would like 80 to 100,000 cash collected. When I first started, would I have been happy with $10,000 profit a month? Yes. Because I was still working up to figuring out, how do I stop thinking about delivering the leads? You build the leads yourself first. Then you monetize them. And if you can't monetize them and you're meant to be live at 1%, you should be role playing with him. And it's wild how many people don't show up to the calls or ask for what they want because they're still waiting for somebody to lead them.
Or they're busy with their doing, which is
well, it's the same thing. They're waiting for somebody to listen. The industry is not failing you in business coaching, in virtual assistants, in marketing, in sales. People are not failing you. We fail ourselves because we're not thinking like this. Does that make sense, you guys? Yes. This is why masterminding is so important. You guys are meant to be live 1%. Wait till your mastermind. It's going to be a blowout show, a good show, right? Because we're taking it up a notch. Because at the end of the day, there's one thing to teach tactics online, but don't you guys agree? Like we need to start thinking differently, right, Brandon? Right? We need to start thinking differently to see things move forward. Okay, what were you gonna say?
Well, I think, I want to go back to the list, right? So if you have that list in front of you and you've got the right people moving the needle for you every week, what you'll notice, you have a lot more space. But what I like to do with that list, do you want to go back to that?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
So when we eliminate the list, what I want to do is when you're going through your list, as you got your to-do list, because some people are saying they got this overwhelming to-do list,
Yeah.
you should really limit yourself to a certain number of ones. So don't just put everything as a one. I like to put, limit it to 3 ones, okay,
Yep.
for the week. So you look at it, you're going to probably see some things that work together, that line up together to accomplish one thing, moving one thing forward. So the first thing I would do is write down the list, just brainstorm it out, and then prioritize them 1, 2, 3, then go back into it and try to reduce the number of ones.
Yeah.
Why do I do that? Why do you challenge yourself to reduce the number of ones? And Instagram's on this side. So the reason you want to reduce the number of ones is because what you'll find is it will stop your spinning. It will really challenge you to say, what is important? And I like what Shanda's saying is like, ask yourself the question of like, what's my role? What's my responsibility here?
Yeah.
Because what it does is the ones that fall under your role and responsibility specifically, what you should do is say, okay, is this role or responsibility going to serve the vision of the company right now? Not like the vision like 10 years from now, but like right now, if you're in it to generate revenue right now or generate profitability or whatever your focus areas or hiring people, then what you need to do is really go into what you're up to right now and focus in on that section.
Yeah, and I'll say like Ash and I try and be as vulnerable and straightforward as possible because we know there's a lot of advice online and you could hear it and kind of intuitively feel like you might know the answer, and then you sit down, you start to do it and it doesn't really come together. So one of the things that I was very confused about for a long time is what is the role of the CEO? Do you know what I mean? And I don't know about you guys, but like I think we all know that when you're spread too thin, you make money slower. Right? And so, and then, the number one thing that I see people do is they launch 2 things at the same time because it feels like it would be easier to do that. Yeah, you got to not do that. Like one thing. And I know you guys with ADHD are like, no, but I can't do that. I'm like, just geek
Tony's
out
not
on your
affected.
ADHD on the one thing. You know what I mean? Like find 17 different ways to sell that one thing. You know, like it's just really important to not, it was, I think it was Talking More. I saw him do an ad that I thought was a brilliant ad to attract his ideal client. And he did what we call the ascension plan. And he had a video over his paper. And we have this ascension plan. And I thought, I mean, he's 100% right. It's the same thing we teach, but like I can teach it for 5 years to a group of people, and they just one day this is like the most common thing I hear in my mastermind.
I got it.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got. I'm like it's
Oh,
been right.
finally.
It's because there's so much noise going on about making these decisions, and so the ascension plan talked about your lead gen. Then it talked about sell that one thing, and he said, and the number one thing that causes people to not make money is they create another thing to sell.
That's right.
And I was like, it's so true. Like one thing selling can make you $1 million a year or more. And it's so much harder to make that type of money when you're trying to do multiple different things. So if I taught copywriting, I wouldn't be trying to teach copywriting, then
Done for you copywriting.
and then done for you copywriting, and then
hire a team of copywriters.
and then like it's like you get what I'm saying. It's like they're all individual businesses. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like what vertical? Maybe I do done for you copywriting, and then I hire and protege somebody with a 3-month or 4-month runway that they're going to take it over, and then I start moving my existing clients over to them. And just like as a coach, people are like, I want you, Shanda, I want you. I'm like, but nobody says that anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like nobody
I
says
still
that.
want you though.
Aw, thank you. Nobody says that anymore because it's not even in my dialogue anymore. Does that make sense? And because it's not in my dialogue, it doesn't happen in front of me. Does that make sense, you guys? And so then once that vertical was going, I'd create an automated lead magnet that was booking to a sales team that would sell my copy that somebody else would do. And I would figure out who's my existing avatar. Do I want my existing avatar to be people doing video sales letters? Do I want my existing avatar to be companies that are $2 million and above because I work better with them? Companies that are smaller, they tend to need more leadership, which would mean I would need a stronger copywriter if I was going to arbitrage that income. Do you guys follow me? So like sometimes the reason why things are hard is because you may be working with the wrong avatar. You might be working with people that require more of you than you want to give. You might be holding multiple different hats because you think you need to do all those hats because you can't afford something else. I saw an ad that I thought was brilliant, and somebody said, okay, you guys can't shoot the messenger and watch because the elections are going on. People are going to be like, I actually lost my first client, by the way. I lost my first Mentor Me Live client. I didn't even say my political view, really. She just assumed. Yeah, I shared a Christian post, and it wasn't actually about what side you're voting for. It was about going out and voting. But I did put that I wasn't going to vote for Kamala Harris, and I lost a client.
For anybody, anyways.
I can't vote for anybody, you guys.
We live in Puerto Rico, so
we're not allowed to vote, right? And so,
vote.
but I said I wasn't voting for Kamala Harris, and if you're mad at me for that, fine. You should be trying to not be mad and maybe enroll me, although I can't vote, living in America, or living in Puerto Rico. But the reason why I'm sharing this with you is here's what somebody said to me, and this is understanding your avatar. They said, you should stay in your box and teach business because that's what I come to you for. And I was like, have I not taught you anything about messaging? Like, you need to talk about things. Do you know the only reason why I bring anything up political right now is because it's hot. Like that, if you understand copy, which most people don't, you actually want to talk about, like if you look at the trash magazines and what's going on, those trash magazines tell you what people are fighting about. And when we're afraid to talk about these things and give our point of view, what happens is, how many of you guys want to be friends with or work with people who are going to tell you that you shouldn't have your value system or your belief system? Put me in the chat. If you'd like to work with people who are going to tell you that you are not allowed to believe what you want to believe, right? How many of you guys would love to work with people who you could feel safe to believe what you want to believe, and you're committed to not killing them if they don't believe what you believe, right? That's the type of word. Put me in the chat if that's you. That's what Heartcore stands for. That's why I can be Christian, you can be Catholic, you can be New Age, you can be a psychic, you can be whatever you want to be. And I'm like, awesome, if I believe my way's right, and I get into a dialogue with you, I'm going to try and enroll you, which is selling, that my way's the right way if I care about you. And if you care about me, you should be enrolling me in whatever you believe. And the only way we grow is if we can hear each other. Does that make sense? So I share this with you because right now you have some of the hottest opportunity to talk about things and kick out the people that were going to be a pain in your ass anyway, and probably give you shit anyway, because they're pissed at you because they're talking about something that's hot right now. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? Because I have a mixed bag in my community. Some people love Kamala Harris, some people love Trump, some people like Biden, and we don't feel, or at least in our masterminds, our community has these really great open conversations, and I love that. I will never get inside my box at a Thanksgiving dinner or inside of, Christmas or online. The reason why this is so important, you guys, is I was broke when I was in my box. When you think about leadership and you think about marketing, you think about messaging, it's really important to understand that you've got to be able to go out on a limb, and you are going to upset people. And so some of your priorities might be, as you're looking at this end of the year, is what is going to be your stand? Like some people's stand is, I'm just using political stuff because it's now, some people's stand is like all Trump. Some people are standing all Camilla. Okay, great. Are you that strong in your own messaging for your business?
Wow,
like, is
that's
it
powerful.
all paleo? Is it all like disrupt? You know what I mean? Is
All
it
sugar.
Or is it like nobody should ever get a divorce, or everybody should get a divorce? Like, what is your stand? And the stronger the stand is, the more people are going to go, that's what I want. I want a coach with a coach that says that there's a way to save my marriage, right? Or no, I want a coach with a coach, or I want to buy a product, program, or service that's going to show me how to uncouple, right? There's uncoupling, conscious uncoupling, right? I don't want conscious uncoupling. I saved a friend of mine who was going to conscious uncoupling, and they have a great marriage today, right? Like, and so I don't want conscious uncoupling. Some of you guys like conscious uncoupling, right? And that I think is a really cool aspect of freedom. So I share this with you to share a little bit about like our stand as well. And we try and open ourselves up. By the way, this person who left our community also said, we don't want to hear anything about you and Ash and how you live your life. And I'm like, listen, sweetheart, it's one of the number one things people ask us is, how do you be driven, have a good relationship, take off a week, a month? How do you actually do that and not completely lose yourself? And so I follow the data. You should follow your data, but know where your core is, what your true north is. And the minute people start giving you advice on how you need to go inside your box, I'm going to tell you, my friends, it means you're onto something. Do you know what that did to me? It literally like gave me the courage to say, we should be going out there with stronger political views. We should be going out there with stronger health views. We should be going out there and being like some of my friends that I know broke off and are doing $2 million webinars, being a strong voice for what they believe. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? Are you picking up what I'm saying? Because I know you have a strong conviction inside you, whatever it is. I'm cool if it's not mine. I'm cool with that. I actually have more respect for you if you could stand in a room with me and have a completely different point of view and actually not be a jerk in the process, where we can hear each other. That I'm excited about. And if I can be a part of encouraging you to go out there, even if it's a completely different belief that I have, and get out there and push it, I think that is a very interesting world to be in. However, as a business coach, you're going to have to do that, period. If you're going to break out financially, you're going to have to take a stand. I'll end on this scenario with High Burst. Ash said to me, he said, he's got a hydration product. And he said to me one day, he came in the kitchen, he goes, this actually happened like a couple months ago. He goes, I could dump the price of the actual hydration product. It's called highburst.com. So somebody typed that in the chat, highburst.com. He goes, I've been in the vitamin world for a long time, the energy drink world, and worked on Monster and worked on all these different things. He goes, I actually know how to create a product that is very affordable and it's very bad for you. Like very, very bad for you. But Shanda, we could scale it up and exit big. And he goes, so you think I should just do that instead of trying to create a product that's actually healthy for people? Because it's harder to get it to dissolve in the water. You got to put bad stuff in it to get it to dissolve in the water easily. Do you guys get what I'm saying? So he's like, do I put stuff in it that will screw up people's guts and bring down the price of the product, and we can just blow it out? And this is what I said to him, true story. I said, well, I don't know. I guess you have to check in with your value system. I said, what's your value system? Do you want to blow it out and we create a brand and we exit and we're just super, super rich for the rest of our life? I'm game. It's not my calling. It's his. I'm game, whatever. Right? Or do you want to create this product that actually stands against, Monster, Celsius? We have a girlfriend who actually started taking High Burst, and she in one day got off drinking 2 Celsius energy drinks a day.
Monsters too, yeah.
Right? And she got off of it, and it's been months and months and months. She's super thankful for the brand. I go, so what's more important to you? Is it more important to you to do what everybody's doing, to make the money, to do whatever? Or do you want to take the path of value system, which means that people are going to tell you to add this, do that, make it this, make it that, get inside your box? Or do you want to create something new? Right? And so the history of that is he's held his line to be able to hold this product. So I share this with you because if you could just look at this goal session that you do with yourself, and instead of just writing out a to-do list that's like, can I make money? Can I do this? Whatever, get intimate with it. What is your value system? Yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing with this product, service that you're doing? What are you really doing? And how is that really connected to your value system and why you were put on this planet? Because that will push up the urgency. Brain dump. I really recommend we do every Sunday at 10:30 a.m.
Yeah.
At 10:30 a.m.
Before
we go to church, and we hope to God that we don't get in a fight. Just kidding. We haven't gotten in a fight.
Actually, it's crazy. Those are the times that brings us together.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get in a fight too.
But no, those are the things that brought us together. But we don't ask each other, what's your goals anymore. We sit down and we do the brain dump individually. We choose P1 for priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. We take our P1s and we say, what are the non-negotiables for this week? Like after now brain dumping on that, this is the full scope of this. What would make this next week successful? What are the 1 to 3 things that would make the week successful? We write that down. We share that with each other.
Yeah.
And then we take Monday through Friday, and we take that list to priority focus ones, and we literally put it in Monday through Friday, and we
completion time.
Yeah, we designate that day. So maybe one of mine is to create a webinar slides or something, right? I might have that on Monday, and I have a designated priority focus time for 2 hours. And in those 2 hours, if Monday says webinar slides, I do those webinar slides during that thing. If Tuesday says write SOPs or write, I want to change the way our coaching department's running so well right now. Can I just share a little priority focus? One of my goals, I sat down and I was like, how do we up the tracking with our Mentor Me Live 1% clients? And we designed something where if somebody's brand new starting a business, that they hit $5,000 in the first 60 days. I have coaches right now that are hitting 60% and 40% and 50% because we're tracking them every single day, how many people they're working with, where their KPIs are, where one of our clients are at on the framework. Does that make sense, you guys? That was a priority focus. I was like, how do I extend more standard to my clients and track that?
Yeah.
That was one of my goals. But that was an idea for a long time. That I was like, I know I need to do this, but it didn't end up on my priority list until it was painful enough and I needed to put it on my priority list. Then it got designated to a day of the week as a completion process, not as something I'm working on.
That's right.
Completion. And then who am I handing that to, or how am I completing that?
That's right.
Does that make sense? Is that helpful? So we're gonna stop streaming online and then we're gonna be available for some of the people on Zoom with us. You guys online, we'll see you next Tuesday on Shanda On Demand, sending you so much love. And